Welcome to the SEI Podcast Series, a production of the Carnegie Mellon University Software Engineering Institute. The SEI is a federally funded research and development center sponsored by the U.S. Department of Defense. A transcript of today's podcast is posted on the SEI website at sei.cmu.edu/podcasts.
Welcome to the SEI Podcast Series. I'm Dominic Ross, Instructional Technology Engineer for the SEI CERT Division, as well as the SEI Broadcast Media Team Lead, and I'm joined today with Shannon Gallagher, a data scientist for the SEI CERT Division, and today we're talking about deepfakes. So Shannon, there were more than 85,000 harmful deepfake videos detected up to December 2020, with that number doubling every 6 months since observations began in December 2018. So Shannon, we know deepfakes are definitely a problem for many organizations. It's such a good thing that we have you here today to walk us through and provide some clarity. But Shannon, since we're both new to the SEI Podcast Series, can we start by telling our audience a little bit about ourselves? What brought us to the SEI and the work that we do here? Can you start us off?
Sure. And first of all, thank you, Dom, so much. It's been great to be here today. As a little bit of an introduction, I got my PhD in statistics at Carnegie Mellon University from the Department of Statistics and Data Science. My thesis was kind of about modeling infectious disease, and that was before COVID, so it could kind of, I guess, timely. And then I did a postdoc at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and then came back here. Been working at the SEI since June 2021 and have been working with some data science, machine learning problems ever since. And from the day-to-day aspect, there's a fun little quote from statistics that we get to play in everyone's backyard. I feel that is so true. It's really quite fun. Whoever has a spreadsheet, a set of data, they can come to the statisticians, the data scientists, machine learning, and if you have specific hypotheses that you have in mind, or occasionally you're like, I have this data set, can you help us explore it? Those are some of the best. We do a lot of modeling of algorithms. This is what one of the deepfake things we're doing today. So that's where a lot of the statistics and machine learning models come in. And really, I think one of my favorite parts working here at the SEI is getting to work with so many different disciplines, and that's the best part of being a statistician as well. And, for instance, I get to work with this really cool team media lead on this deepfake project.
Well, I'm sufficiently humbled. I took a different route to the SEI. I started as a multimedia artist. I primarily worked in broadcast and film and television. From there, I moved to private production houses, moving over to corporate video and live streaming productions. From there, I actually got hired at the SEI to be a digital media production specialist, which I had no idea what it meant at the time. I just know that I would be creating distance education offerings. From there, here at the SEI, they really recognize individual talent, and they allow you to pursue other fields outside of what you may have been hired for. So I was able to get into more engineering, design, and software research. I've worked on a number of research projects here at the SEI, specifically ones that are tailored more towards multimedia, of course, because that's where my interests lie. But getting to work with somebody as accomplished as you on creating a deepfake detection model is quite thrilling, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be just in your presence in this room, but also to be able to work with you in research. So let's go ahead and get started. YouTube deepfakes are hilarious. Why would a data scientist study them instead of enjoy them?
Well, part of studying them usually uses a holistic view, so we do get to enjoy them and watch them, and I agree, they're quite hilarious, and that makes the job pretty fun, trying to, getting to watch these new YouTube videos. Certainly kind of lucky to be able to do that, but there are a lot of reasons to study these statistically. First of all, they pose a real threat they can pose a real threat to our society. Being able to impersonate someone's image and likeness, being able to not be able to trust what you see with your eyes and hear with your ears. That is something that we would like to be able to detect with the help of some machine learning algorithms. And from a statistical point of view, they're really interesting sorts of data. It's spatial temporal. You need both the video and so you have the image, which is all very highly correlated with one another, and the time as well. And so it makes it statistically a very interesting problem to work on.
Spatial temporal. I can't even say the word. It's so impressive.
Well, thanks, but just time and space.
So, what are deepfakes, and how would you characterize the current state and technology that is being used to create them?
Sure. Deepfakes are defined in the Mirsky and Lee paper as believable media that are generated by neural networks. And so this definition has sort of evolved over the years, and depending on which field you're from, maybe you have a different idea of what deepfakes were before. Usually when we're talking about deepfakes, especially today, we're going to be talking about humans and especially faces. We're going to focus a lot on the facial features of an individual. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a video or an image. It could be audio or text as well. So the definition of deepfake seems to be broadening over time. And in some ways, it's just an evolution of, trying to fake someone out.
So where's the neural network come into play?
The neural net comes into play as the basis of which these images are created. And so prior, you wouldn't be using like a statistical model to alter a media or image. But with the machine learning algorithms, it really allows you to have this very firm basis of this this interpolation of an image, usually on top of a target source or person. So you can swap faces or swap identities and be able to really imitate a person that you want to.
Okay, does a deepfake have to be created through using that neural network, or could it be created through other means, like through a graphics altering program like Photoshop?
Sure, it depends who you ask. Since I'm in the statistics machine learning, sometimes we have the bad habit of coming into a field that's already established and rewriting and saying, oh yeah, we did this first. But I think you're very right. Altered media came first and is really the basis of a lot of with this deepfakes. And the deepfakes, a lot of it comes from being able to automate the process.
So why did they call them deepfakes anyhow?
So as a lot of interesting things from today come from the internet. Deepfakes is one of them. This is a term that has been coined by a Reddit user, and it's sort of a play on words between from the deep learning, the neural networks comes from that, and then a fake. There's multiple ways we could say fakes, but put it together, it's kind of catchy, caught on, and here we are, deepfakes.
Internet glory established.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me more about the type of deepfakes present currently and what makes them different?
Yeah, so there's quite a few different types of deepfakes. Perhaps the most simple one that's available is the face swap. So perhaps you've been able to use that on some of the apps on your phone that you can just switch with a friend occasionally. It doesn't look particularly real because you're just kind of chopping off a little portion of your face and basically slapping it on another person. So there's some more sophisticated ones where you can swap like the whole head. You can even get a little more sophisticated with like completely being able to puppeteer someone. So there's some famous deepfakes on the internet available that do this, where there's actually an impersonator who's being filmed, and then the face and likeness of a person is being placed on top of that person. So you're completely controlling that person's movements and expressions. And so that one's pretty dangerous. There's also just the fact that you can make completely new individuals with deepfakes.
Is it easy to do this? Can anybody just pull out their computer and just start popping out deepfakes whenever they want?
Yes and no. So on some ways, if you just search on the internet for deepfake applications, you'll be able to find them. And a lot of them are very accessible. You just click on somewhere and you can do some fun things. But on the other hand, I wouldn't say they're the most realistic. And you would probably not be able to send those types around to your friends and family, and they probably wouldn't believe that the person you're trying to impersonate is actually speaking. So on that hand, no. But that said, there are some very sophisticated deepfakes out there, and they take a lot of skill, not in just terms. I think it's really interesting because it's not just technical skills. It's a lot of artistry as well, and I really think right now you need both to make a deepfake that's pretty convincing.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do think it's that mix between technology and artistry that makes the convincing deepfake of today. But I believe technology is quickly outpacing the need for that, and relatively soon, I believe the technology will be able to create photorealistic deepfakes on its own. But it's job security for me for at least 2 years.
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting how much deepfakes have evolved over even the past couple of years. They're getting pretty scary good right now, and a lot of that is from the technology.
Yep, but here's the thing. So I saw a deepfake of a leader asking civilians to surrender. It was so easy not to believe that. If I can easily spot those deepfakes, how easy are they to detect in the real world? And do we need a machine to actually do that detection?
So I think one of the reasons that one, I know what you're talking about, it was pretty easy to detect was because in some ways it was supposed to be very an official video, or at least mimic an official video. And when we were coming from that, we expect a provenance, a sort of standard for that video to have. And that, I think the deepfake version of it did not meet that whatsoever. Now imagine if you had more of the found footage type of film and you saw the Yeti walking through the woods, then I think that sort would actually be a lot harder to discern whether it's real or not, or maybe it was just terrible video quality, or you can. I've faked myself out a million times and just excused oh, this is just bad filming. When really there's something deeper going on. And besides that, the number two is that there are something like 100,000 hours of video being uploaded to the internet every day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's scary.
It's concerning, but obviously we can't check all that, so we need some help from our computer friends.
Yeah, it's kind of like the analogy that anybody can make a pizza, but try making 1,000 pizzas and let's see how well you can make that pizza at that point. Anybody can right now spot the majority of deepfakes out there that aren't necessarily the high quality media artist created photorealistic type, but show me 1,000 of them, I may miss a high percentage where we need a machine that's better than the human at doing that.
Yeah, or at least for the machine to just take the first pass at it. And I think that's important too. We don't need the machine learning algorithm to do everything. Sometimes it just needs to help guide us in the right direction, and then gives it to a human to make the final decision.
So I look at deepfakes almost like catfishing, and catfishing's been around for a very long time. Do you consider deepfakes the evolution of impersonation?
Yeah, I think so in a lot of ways. And, I'll even take it back one step and say that it's just another forgery as well. So trying to get you to trust something that can actually not be trusted. And I think this just takes it another step where you're now fooling people, not just with words or an image, but even now it's going to be video as well. And we use our eyes and ears a lot, and if we can't trust them, then it definitely sows a lot of doubt and perhaps discord.
Yeah, I wonder if I can start using the full grandma that I can't make her 80th birthday because I'm being tasked on this great mission, not that I want to go to a Formula One race.
I mean, I guess, but I wouldn't, disappoint grandma,
So when most people think about deepfakes, they think about the real humans that we're talking about. What about AI-generated humans who don't exist?
I would say there's like a large number of AI humans that don't exist on the internet right now. And I can imagine that there's actually a lot of social media profiles that do not have real individuals associated with them. So it's certainly a part. From a statistical point of view, I think those ones are kind of the very exciting for a number of reasons. But one thing that it really brings to mind is that to make these algorithms, your model needs a set of real human photos to what we call it training on. And so these models are used these photos are used as input to the model to make it work. And it's something interesting about these new individuals is that sometimes maybe they're not as new as you thought, but really just combinations of people who are already present.
So you're talking about like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here, that we can trace those combinations of features back to the original source imagery?
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea for, I think there's a lot of open questions in this field. So, the next data scientist, machine learner who has a lot of time, I feel like go ahead, keep working on that. I'm ready for that paper and we'll gladly read it. Yep, but I think there's some certainly very interesting things in how you can trace back the origin of a deepfake.
Yeah, I mean, these people that do not exist, it's present even in media artistry, where UX designing software applications have plugins that you can just pull these random individuals, so you don't have to worry about, copyright or stock imagery when you're creating these mock-ups of design. So I would agree with you. It's probably pretty prevalent. Not only that, but what about the pets that don't exist?
Those are pretty funny. Here's an interesting tidbit. Sometimes a detector that can tell really well whether a person has been deepfaked or not. You can run that same detector on like the pets that don't exist, and it will fail spectacularly. So it kind of shows how some of the intricacies of our models aren't really getting at the truth, but rather other spurious artifacts that are going on within the images.
So I saw a recent article that centered around trustworthiness, and that AI-generated humans are rated higher than real people when it comes to being trustworthy. What do you think about that?
Yes, so that was a really nice paper by Hani Farid in his lab, and they've been doing really awesome work a long time before it was called Deepfakes, but they're altered media and such. And one of their studies found that these the people from, I think it's called a model called StyleGAN, and perhaps some others like it, that they are found to be more trustworthy by actual human beings. And I think there's actually a good reason for that, because the images, the photos that StyleGAN was trained on, they are very nice photos of individuals. These were not like candid photos. So they're very pretty people, and they're very attractive, and that probably helps with the trust level as well.
So what you're saying is it's not like taking photos of me getting out of bed in the morning at my worst.
I think if we put some of our Zoom photos on some of these models, we'd have some scary looking people, Dom.
Yeah. But it could also be one of those potential ways to detect these type of images as well, right? If they have an extremely high trustworthiness score, or maybe just lots of symmetry, traits that aren't necessarily something that we see in the everyday individual. Could that be ways to start discerning, this is a AI-generated human versus this is a real human?
Yeah, and there's some stuff in like the StyleGAN that you kind of see the asymmetry that you notice. One thing that is pretty hard for it to pick up is earrings, and so normally we expect those to be about symmetric. they're often not in the deepfake. So usually that's a pretty obvious indicator. The thing is, we expect these generators to learn from these simple mistakes eventually. But right now, we're very grateful when they do the earring that's a star on one side and like a little stud on the other.
So what role does media literacy start to play in deepfake detection?
I think it's important just about anything that you would do on the internet. Honestly, you want to see where your source is coming from, who made it, what kind of idea that they're trying to portray. Are they selling something? You really just need to think through all that. I guess you just can't automatically trust anything.
When it comes to deepfake creation, like, do I own my own personal identity?
Cool. So, Dom, you ask a good question, probably one that I'm not really qualified to answer. We'll have to let the lawyers battle it out. But, I will say as a researcher that we try to err on the side of caution, especially when we want to respect the people behind the deepfakes, because there are real people behind these models and images that we're using, and that's very important. The ethics, we want to be researchers of integrity.
Yeah, it gets really strange. I can tell you, even in the media world, and I am not a lawyer, so this may not be right, but I believe that the photographer owns the copyright to the image of the person they take the photo of, as opposed to the person that's in that photo. So at that point, could anybody who has recorded video of me or taken photographs of me then own the rights and be able to manipulate that any way they want? I'd love to know what laws govern the creation of deepfakes. Have you heard of anything yet?
So I have heard of some legislation that was perhaps going to be passed in the U.S., but hasn't yet. So I've been trying to keep an eye out, but it seems right now pretty gray area. We're going to see this worked out sooner or later. And like you said, it's quite interesting. I heard copyright law is a big driver of it, actually. Another is that, at least in Pennsylvania, that, you do have that right to privacy and also your reputation. And so I don't know what that would mean if someone had a deep fake, perhaps of yourself, saying something that you would never say, even if they were the one who had the copyright to it. I don't know. And plus there's the part where you have like art and satire, and that's another attribute as well. Yeah,
the free speech protected in satire would be a difficult challenge, I think, for people who are creating deep fakes, what legislation to overcome. So it'll be interesting to see where it comes. That's a conversation for a different day, though. We could probably do a whole podcast with a lawyer present, of course.
Yeah, many lawyers have.
So, but you talked about ethics, and guidance is being created concerning the ethics of AI, here at the SEI. Should deepfakes be part of that conversation?
Absolutely. And I think this goes not only for what we're working on now, but like anything, especially that starts to touch upon humans and using them in our research. We need to be really important. We're messing with real lives potentially, and we need to treat that with the care and respect it deserves. And so I know here at the SEI, we talk about the ethics a lot. We only use data that has been consented to and is publicly available. These are issues that we need to take seriously, because if we don't, it will seep into our models and into the world. And that's something that I think we should need to really care about.
So we've said a few things that we like about deepfakes, but mainly negative things. Are there positive use cases for deepfakes?
I think there are. The YouTube ones, the internet ones, they do bring me a lot of enjoyment. And so I do think there's a place for art, especially in the world of deepfakes. I will say I work with a lot of the bad use cases of deepfakes, and for me it's harder and harder to see some of the positive aspects. But I do think that ultimately we need that artistic expression as well.
Yeah, I see those same artistic expression positivities, like where you restore old video footage as black and white and you make it color, and you actually you de-age an actor to be able to play a role that maybe it's taken a long time for that film to get made, and you want to keep the continuity, or you want to have subtitles where it appears in a native language, so you're using deepfaked audio so that I can speak Mandarin perfectly, and then also the manipulation of ellipsis happening the way that somebody would see it, so it's just easier for people to understand that medium that's being conveyed. Whether or not it can continue to spiral out of control, I guess we'll see. But I have also experienced a lot of joy, seeing my favorite celebrities act as magicians, or, running for president is
literally running.
That's right. It's a lot of entertainment value as well. So now let's talk about the SEI's work in this area, though. To quote the Heilmeyer Catechism, if we are successful, what difference will it make?
So in my mind, that there's two big categories that we're trying to make a difference in, and I just want to preface this that we're in the area of detection right now. So we're trying to make those algorithms that are finding if something is a deep fake or not. So there's kind of two types of targets that you would think, and one is like a popular, well-known figure. So if you can control what that person is saying or doing, obviously that can be a big problem. Of course, though, it's also, you don't want the average citizen to be able to be impersonated easily as well. And that one's kind of a threat on the scale sort of side. Someone's uploading a video on social media, perhaps, in school or something, and they're trying to sow discord and doubt, and that's, not great either.
Well, what do the current trends suggest about the future of deepfakes then, and the efforts to detect and combat them?
So it's kind of a tricky situation these days. Generators, I think, as we know, on images, just still images of videos, they're basically impossible for humans to detect. I would say we're still pretty good with videos. That's something that we haven't gotten there, but they're getting a lot better. And so generators are getting better. That means detectors have to keep getting better as well. But it's kind of a weird game going on because the generators can directly feed off the detectors. We don't even have to give them the algorithm. They just take the results of our detector and they can get better images from that. So it's kind of this loop of detectors get better, generators get better, so on and so forth. But I don't think it's an infinite loop, and I think it's one where eventually the generator can make something that's indistinguishable both to our eyes and to the detector as well, which is kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's infinite, right? It's almost like it's going to keep going on forever, where they just keep outpacing each other. Like we'll never catch up. Do you think that's the case, or do you think...
I do think it's a tough... game to play, if you want to call it a game. I know it's also very serious, but it's definitely hard. The good news is that generators don't, like right now anyway, they don't get better without a lot of time in between these rounds. So that's what's kind of keeping us afloat at the moment. But in 5 to 10 years, I'm not so sure. This is a difficult problem. It may not be able to be solved through the content alone, and may be solved through other means such as metadata and certificates as well.
Well, if you like this content and you want to hear more about detection methods and you want to get Shannon back here for another podcast, go ahead and hit that like button. That'll let the SEI know that you like this research, you like hearing about it, and hopefully we can get Shannon back here again to talk about some more tailored, specific detection, deepfake related work. But as we talk about that, one of the aspects of our work that we like to highlight in our podcast is transition. How might our listeners learn about deepfakes and about the work that the SEI is doing on detection models and software frameworks?
Well, For better or for worse, deepfakes are currently in the news, so pretty easy to find a lot of information. For work that specifically we're working on, I hope everyone has seen in that Dom here and another person from our team have written a really nice blog post on deepfake generation, and so I recommend checking that out. We're also planning on having a deepfake day in August, and so keep your eyes peeled for more information on that.
Deepfake Day sounds like fun. Do we know if it's going to be restricted research, or is it going to be fundamental research, or not, yet to be decided?
Yeah, so hopefully that'll come very soon. So keep an eye out for the on the website.
Yeah, so just reach out to the SEI, and we'll keep presenting you with that good information as soon as we have it for you.
That's right.
So Shannon, you've said it all. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. For our audience, we will include the links in the transcript to the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. The SEI Podcast Series is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, a lot of places you can find us. The SEI's YouTube channel. So if you like what you see and hear, please give us a thumbs up, reach out, let us know that we're doing a decent job. We like letting you know about the things that we're working on here. So thank you again for spending time with us today, Shannon. Thank you, audience, for listening. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us. This episode is available where you download podcasts, including SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. It is also available on the SEI website at sei.cmu.edu/podcasts and the SEI's YouTube channel. This copyrighted work is made available through the Software Engineering Institute, a federally funded research and development center sponsored by the U.S. Department of Defense. For more information about the SEI and this work, please visit www.sei.cmu.edu. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us at info@sei.cmu.edu. Thank you.